What is up, guys? Jake from One Hive here with the next theory craft video, and this one's going to be more of an old school, shorter style that I used to do when I first came out with a theory craft, just talking about a certain aspect of the game. Have you ever done an attack on a base, been unsuccessful, and then watched someone else attack that base, and you're like, why didn't I think of that? It's not a matter of, oh, now they know where the traps are. It's just something so they're hitting the base in such a weaker area, or maybe they're not using wall breakers and just jumping into the same and getting the same access that you were, but you were trying to use wall breakers. Maybe you had a wall breaker fail or something, or just something that makes it to where it's just like you missed it when you were scouting that base. You just thought, man, I missed that weakness on that. I just didn't see it. And I'm sure that you all have. I know a lot of times. And I think the problem comes from when we as people look at something, we look at it through our perspective, and sometimes we don't allow the answer to be no. You know, when I look at a base and I say, okay, I think this is the best way to hit it, and I sometimes will get to the end of the attack and I've taken out this section and I've taken out the queen and I've done that, but there's something nagging there. There's like, oh, well, what about this? There's no plan. There's no solution in my plan for this little detail. And sometimes I'm just like, oh, it'll be all right, when that's not what you want to do. And that's what I mean by let the answer be no. If you come up with your game plan and you go through it and you're looking at it and you come to that end and it's just you don't have an answer for every part of the base, sometimes the answer is just no. That's not the best plan. There is a better plan for it. You just haven't found it yet. And that's when you get into things like Sketch and Twiddler and all those things like that. Sometimes it's amazing how just another set of eyes looking at it says, hey, why have you thought about this? You know, have you thought about maybe hitting it from this direction? Or no, why are you bringing 3 golems there? You know, that's too many. You don't need, you can do the same thing with 2 golems. Things like that that you look at and you're sort of tunnel vision in on your game plan and think it's the best plan for it. And not that you've got to sort of admit any type of inferiority or anything. It's just that I've done it for other people that I know are better attackers than me. I'm like, hey, what about this? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. So you just have to be open to that. And that, again, comes to where you should always probably run your plan by someone else. But when it comes to running your plan by someone else, be honest with yourself about that too. If you're constantly uploading these sketch attacks to your guild mates, or your clan mates, and they're looking at it and saying, yeah, it looks good. And that's the feedback you're getting. You're not really having that interaction. What about this? What about that? Then, you know, they're really not doing their part as clanmates, and you're not doing your part just accepting it and saying, okay, yeah, it must be the perfect plan because they said it looks good. There's probably always something that could be done a little bit better, a little more efficiently, or possibly just, you know, again, if you don't have that comfortable feeling, sometimes you go into it and you say, hey, I feel like I'm going to wreck this base. And that's good. That's the feeling you want to have. It seems like when I have that feeling, it always turns out better. But when I have that little nagging doubt in the back of my mind, and I don't just let the answer be, no, this isn't the best plan for this base, almost always something goes wrong. So I hope the Twiddler session videos have opened people's eyes to what I'm talking about this. When I say, you know, not just, hey, yeah, that looks good, but actually going through the plan. Well, what about this? Well, here's what I think about that. And going back and forth, and Twiddler is such a powerful tool for that. But even if you do it over GroupMe or Bindle or anything like that with Sketch and pictures, you can do the same thing that way. It takes longer, but it can be done while you're at work. You can go back and forth with your clanmates. And again, hopefully they are actually giving you input, not just looks good, you know, thumbs up, whatever, just because you put a plan together. But you know, it's just a matter of, again, I don't know what it is in our psychology that sometimes won't allow us to do that. You sort of want to stick with that plan. I don't know if it's a comfort thing or if it's just an ego thing that we all want our plan to be, you know, the best plan for a base. But whatever it is, you got to fight it. You got to fight that off and say, no, no, I don't feel right about this. It's not clicking. I don't feel confident. There could be something wrong with this. Whatever it is. There was actually a war, and it kind of sucked because we spent a lot of time talking about it on Twiddler and planning it back and forth. And at the end of the conversation, I said, guys, the bottom line is I don't feel comfortable with this. You know, I know I picked this space. I know we've been sitting here talking about it for 20, 30 minutes, but I don't feel like I can 3-star it with what we're talking about here. It's just not something that feels right to me. So maybe backing out of a base even occasionally. You don't want to do that all the time because, again, that time is valuable that you spend planning. but sometimes it's just not right. And if that's the case, let the answer be no. Just say, guys, I don't feel good about this, or continue, scrap the plan, start over, look at something from a different angle. Sometimes looking at it differently helps. Just saying, okay, well, what if I came from this side, or what if I came from the top, and just start from square one. And sometimes you'll stumble onto something, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, now I have that feeling. Now I have that. I think I'm going to 3-star this. Short video, but again, I want to let you guys know just sort of that I think it make a big difference if you approach bases like that. Hope you liked it. Until next time, Jake from One High, reminding you guys to suck less.